I'm Carolina Leid. They won the 2013 national championship, but now FSU's 2013 football team is wrapped up in an academic scandal. We break it down next on Nightside. Thanks for joining us on Nightside. I'm Carolina Leid.
And I'm Katie McCall. We're here in the Weather Center with Bobby Deskins. Bobby, you were on Facebook Live for about an hour tonight.
Well, just, I didn't realize it was that long.
I know, we were clocking you.
Those showers and thunderstorms really started to fire up along the coast. Central, southern Pinellas County, western Manatee and Sarasota, right along the coast. And we had a lot of lightning, we had a lot of heavy rainfall. So I just wanted to track those for you. But we did have some lightning video. I want to show you this. This is coming across the Gandy Bridge. That's actually the new flyover right there. And it was a lot of lightning. It's tough to see. You'll see it start popping up. There you go. We actually have had several times today where we've seen nearly stationary storms that have produced a lot of lightning over the same spot, and that's when it can really get dangerous. Right now outside we don't have much in the way over St. Pete, but let me take you to the radar. Look right here along the coast all the way down to Sarasota and all the way up almost to Newport Richey, just about that line right there. Now this is starting to weaken just a little bit, but especially in central and southern Pinellas County and almost now up to Tarpon Springs. It's just about there. There's Honeymoon Island right there. Dunedin, we're seeing some light rain, but the biggest storms are offshore. Down here we've had a lot of rain. It is lightening up, but I do expect the rain to continue for the next hour or so for many locations as it thins out. As far as thunderstorms go, Manatee, Sarasota County, things are going to be a little bit quieter. Now, we still have rain offshore, especially this here. A lot of this will die down, but this overall unsettled weather will stick around through the weekend. I think it gets better as we go through the weekend, but more rain than what we've seen in the last couple of afternoons. I'll have that in my forecast, and of course, you know it, we'll talk about Irma.
Another big story tonight, a nurse stands her ground and winds up in handcuffs. She screams that she did nothing wrong but by refusing to draw a patient's blood for a cop. Police are apologizing, but the damage is done. This video is from Salt Lake City, Utah. It's got a lot of people fired up around the country. Here's what happened. The police officer wanted that nurse to draw blood from a patient who was unconscious without a warrant. And Alex, it really is amazing when you look at it because you see the nurse refusing over and over again to do so.
Yeah, her name is Alex Wubble. She is the head nurse of the burn unit at the University of Utah Hospital. Now, the patient the officer wanted to take blood from was in a fiery crash last month. Alex explained drawing the blood would violate hospital policy, but the officer demanded she do it anyway.
Yeah, but sir, you're making a huge mistake right now.
Okay. No, we're done. We're done. You're under arrest. We're going. We're done.
We're done. I said we're done. You're insulting me. Stop! This is crazy. So, please, sir, you're hurting me.
Then walk.
My goodness. Well, I've been following this story on social media all day long. The majority of you are outraged. Many of you are wondering how this man could treat her like a criminal. One tweet I read said, "I'm very pro-police, but I hope he's fired." Another commented on her rock-solid integrity as a nurse. Now, the mayor of Salt Lake City said there's an internal affairs investigation going on right now, and the Civilian Review Board is also investigating.
And Alex, if you're like me, you may be wondering what your rights are as a person in the same position as that patient. So we had a legal expert on Facebook Live who summed it up in a way that really connects the dots.
Getting into somebody's veins is like kicking down the door to their house. You're kicking down the door into their veins and their blood. And I guarantee you the information in my veins is a lot more private than even my underwear drawer at my house. You're not going to allow to come kick down your door without a warrant. And they don't get to kick down the door in your arm and get into your blood without a warrant.
That attorney, Mark Thiessen, said you not only have to be under arrest, but the police also have to have a judge's signature on a warrant if they want to take your blood. Otherwise, they would need your consent, and this person wasn't conscious to give it consent. The Fourth Amendment protects you against unlawful searches and seizures, and that includes searching your body. And in this case, The attorney said the nurse is legally prevented from doing what that officer was telling her to do. It would be like an officer telling someone to take your car out of your garage so that he or she could search it. An update now to a 10 News alert that you might have gotten on your phone at around dinner time. A fire broke out at a chemical plant near Houston and it has now burned itself out. The Arkema plant says it expected more fires to burn after the plant lost power during Hurricane Harvey. All of its backup generators and some refrigeration units failed. Arkema has warned the highly combustible material kept at that plant could explode as the temperature rises. Today's fire destroyed 2 trailers at that plant. The area around the plant has been evacuated. Arkema is now testing the air to make sure it's safe.
It can be hard to wrap your head around the damage done by Hurricane Harvey, especially the flooding that we're seeing in Texas. These images can help us out. This is Wharton, Texas, about an hour southwest of Houston. This is what it looked like on October 9th, 2016. Then you take a look at this. That's 2 days ago. All right, and this is the Colorado River, but you can't tell where the river ends and what's supposed to be land here because of that. Now, take a look at this. This is Simonton, about 35 miles from Houston. And this is what it usually looks like. You can see that there are homes here. You can see the roofs. You can see the streets of this neighborhood. But then you take a look at this 2 days ago, and you can see just a few roofs here, but the streets are gone.
For a week now, we've been looking at damage from Hurricane Harvey. It's shocking to see what flooding has done to southeast Texas. And you might not know this, but the severe weather and flooding has killed more than 1,200 people all around the world and forced thousands more out of their homes. The worst of it has been in South Asia and India, Bangladesh, and Nepal. More than 1,000 people died after 2 days of flash floods from a heavy monsoon. People tried to get to land on homemade boats and rafts. The water has also destroyed fields that are used for crops. The president of Nigeria says more than 100,000 people there have now been displaced by flooding. Video shows entire neighborhoods cut off by high water. 2 camps have now been set up to help evacuees, but some have criticized the government for not doing enough to help. And on the west coast of Mexico, Tropical Storm Lydia slammed into Baja California Sur. 4 people died and 1,400 spent the night in shelters. Rain from Lydia spread as far as Mexico City. Flooding briefly closed the city's airport even and opened up a huge sinkhole in a street downtown.
Today, the Pinellas Canvassing Board verified the results of Tuesday's primary election. That includes the primary race for mayor in St. Petersburg. You'll remember Mayor Rick Kreisman narrowly beat out former Mayor Rick Baker, but it was a close one. Just 69 votes separated them. And since neither of them got 50% of the vote, they'll face off on November 7th. Well, tonight, Brightside's Rob Finnerty is looking into some other close races in U.S. history.
Yeah, and I got with our research team, and I had 2 main requirements. I didn't want to use Kennedy-Nixon in 1960, and I really didn't want to use Bush-Gore in 2000 because we all live in Florida and we know what happened. But I did find a couple really good examples of close elections. So check this out. 2008, the Minnesota Senate race. Al Franken versus Norm Coleman in a race where 2.4 million people cast their votes. Franken beat Coleman by just 312 votes. 1974, New Hampshire Senate race. Lewis Wyman versus John Durkin. This was the closest Senate race in U.S. history. 223,000 votes were cast, and Wyman, get this, he won by just 2 votes, but there was a recount, which was really close. So they agreed to have a whole new election, which is totally unprecedented, and Durkin ended up beating Wyman. Unbelievable. All right, 1948 presidential race, Tom Dewey versus Harry Truman. Truman was a massive underdog in this race, but guess what? He woke up the next morning after the election and found out he had won despite what the Chicago Daily Tribune said. Look at that headline. Dewey defeats Truman. Of course, Truman beat Dewey, and that became a very famous photograph. 1997, this was an odd one. A Vermont state representative race. I couldn't find their pictures, but it was Sidney Nixon versus Robert Emond. And this is Vermont. It's September 1st, so there's some foliage for you here. But Emond lost to Nixon by just 1 vote. And after a recount, it turned out that he actually lost by 2 votes, and Emond actually ended up taking over. So here we are, 67 days away from the St. Pete election, and either way, no matter who wins, a lot is on the line for the second biggest city in our area.
Just a lot of feelings, a lot of memories. Pretty rough to talk about it.
Just into the newsroom, Polk County deputies say they found the driver who hit a child and then took off. Fortunately, that child is expected to be okay. Deputies say they solved the case thanks to a woman who drove past the 11-year-old walking off the shoulder of Idlewild Street near Leslie Drive. She told deputies she saw an older model pickup truck veer off the road and hit the child in her rearview mirror. Investigators sent out these pictures of the truck, and within just a few hours, they got a tip. Deputies say they have not released the name of that driver.
President Trump is going to return to Texas tomorrow. It'll be his second visit in a week. This time he'll be in Houston to see the aftermath of all that flooding from Hurricane Harvey. Earlier this week, he pledged to donate $1 million of his personal money to relief efforts.
And you can help by donating to the American Red Cross Hurricane Harvey Disaster Relief Fund. We've made it easy for you. Visit WTSP.com/Texas Cares or click on Texas Cares in the 10 News app.
And with all of your help, we've already raised more than $2 million. So thank you so much to everybody who donated.
Yeah, that is incredible. Thank you very much. That money's going to go a long way, and there's going to be a need for a lot more, too. All right, let's take you out there right now. We've got some quieter conditions in downtown St. Pete. Still a little wet from some rain that moved through, but look at these temperatures. 78 degrees right now. Dew point's still high, of course, 72, so that makes a muggy night of 81% humidity. There's all the rain falling. Watch this line right here. You notice it especially right here, starting to build off back towards the west a little bit. So I think the heaviest showers and storms will actually stay offshore, but this line here is building towards southwestern Pasco County, so Newport Richey, Port Richey area, the rain's coming in. Pinellas County has been hit the hardest this evening so far. We had a whole bunch of rain earlier up in the East Lake area, but you can see right now we've got the rain starting to break up a little bit for Pinellas County. Some light rain over downtown. If you're heading out and about, that will continue for about 30 minutes or so, and then that too should start to break up. Brandon, a little bit of light rain. Manatee and Sarasota County dry most of the day, but boy, did we get some storms this evening from Anna Maria all the way down, especially Longboat Key, but that too you can see is breaking up. Most of these storms will stay offshore, but not all of them. We will keep rain in the forecast, at least a chance for it, through about 2 o'clock this morning. So yeah, we're going to have a couple showers around. I don't expect any severe weather, but a couple of good storms are possible right along the immediate coast. Most of this is out over the Gulf of Mexico, but some of it will try and push on that US 19 corridor. Haven't seen too much inland. See this little line right here coming out? Watch this, it's real faint right there. That's going to run into some of these showers. So if you're in Fishhawk, Brandon especially, but down the Duet, we could get a couple more storms to pop up here. Again, no severe weather, but some thunderstorms are possible, so you may hear some claps of thunder out there. Now, most of the rain is falling apart offshore. We have all of this kind of to deal with through the weekend, and I do think it's going to keep quite a few clouds around. Good news is we won't get as hot as we could be, which means upper 80s for highs, but look at that. Mid 70s for just about everybody. Even though it's muggy, you still feel it's cooler out there. All right, so let's run the forecast model through the weekend. Let's do tonight, 1:30, 2:30, 3:30. Things will start to dry up. This is tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. Yes, some clouds are around, but we're dry for the most part. Now, 2:30, 3 o'clock, here comes some showers and thunderstorms. Now, the latest run says that one line comes through and that's it. I do think in the evening hours, 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, we'll see more rain coming through. And then Sunday, we'll actually do it again. And look at all the extra clouds that are coming through. But it's not a rain out any day of this upcoming weekend. So just a few extra clouds, a few extra showers. I will go a good 50% chance for rain on Saturday, 40% on Sunday. And then as we get into Monday, Labor Day, we're talking about a 40% chance as well, too. 11 o'clock numbers for Irma, 115 mile per hour winds. It's come down just a little bit in intensity. And the eye is just not as clear as it was. But here's the forecast track. That has not changed very much. Still mainly north of the Leeward Islands by Wednesday night now. That's from the Hurricane Center. But here's the forecast models, and you just got to keep this in mind. I haven't posted much online because we just don't know. The GFS is coming back towards Florida. The European actually was by Florida, is coming out east. It's going to change. We'll keep you updated. Stay tuned to WTSP.com and my Facebook page, Bobby Deskin's Weather, and we'll update you all the way through the weekend into next week. If it were to hit somewhere on the East Coast, it wouldn't be until next weekend, most likely. Now, next week, we're going to have a better chance for rain. Looks like now on Wednesday and Thursday, but enjoy that Labor Day weekend, guys.
The night before one of the biggest games in college football, FSU versus Alabama, and we're hearing about an academic scandal involving FSU's 2013 football team, the same team that won the national championship. FSU denies any wrongdoing here, and on top of that, the subject of a major 10 News investigation is caught up in this story. So 10 Investigates Noah Pransky and sports anchor Ryan Bass are teaming up on this one.
The New York Times is reporting that FSU investigated a claim back in 2013, Noah, that a number of those football players from the national championship team actually received academic favoritism. A teaching assistant claimed that she felt pressured into giving them special treatment.
Pressured by a professor who is no stranger to ethical crosshairs. In April, 10 Investigates showed how he was gaming numbers and inflating economic impact reports when analyzing whether Florida City should be spending tax dollars on new stadiums. And even though he passes himself off as an economist, he's actually a professor in FSU School of Hospitality.
You're introduced as an economist. Are you an economist?
I'm a PhD in resource development.
Why do you think economists take such issue with your work?
Well, I have a lot of economics classes. I mean, it's basically a fine line.
A fine line, huh?
Not a fine line, Ryan, at all. FSU investigated the accusations about the academic favoritism in 2013. They said they made changes to the hospitality program that Bond was teaching, but it had nothing to do with that investigation. Bond still teaching at FSU today.
And one of his former students is this guy right here. You might actually remember the name Wilder, should ring a bell. James Wilder played for the Bucks back in the 80s. Well, this is his son, James Wilder Jr., and he was a central figure in that New York Times report. Now, the story claims Wilder Jr. was getting a D in one of his courses, and the professor emailed that teaching assistant, Noah, asking her to work with him, referring to Wilder as a, quote, starting star running back. Wilder won a state championship here at Plant High School before playing for the Seminoles. Now, the professor urged her to allow Wilder and other players to actually make up past assignments or submit missing portions of work that had already been graded. The story also claims players plagiarized. FSU's president John Thrasher responded in a statement today to Tallahassee.com saying FSU retained a leading law firm to conduct an independent investigation of the course in question. And after a thorough examination of the facts, no NCAA violations were found.
All right, so this is not the first time we're seeing an academic scandal, right? Okay.
Especially not at Florida State.
Of course. So what could happen? What's next here?
Well, we saw back in 2006, 2007 that Florida State vacated 12 wins from the football team. Their men's track national championship was stripped. That is if the NCAA decides to step in here. Florida State could actually not investigate this and nothing could happen to FSU. But based on the past, we've seen the NCAA step in. If they do their own investigation, we could see wins stripped from that 2013 team and possibly the national championship taken away as well. But that is totally an extreme here.
Just an if.
We'll see if the NCAA actually puts its foot down here on this case.
All right, thanks, Ryan.
No problem.
Now, from your Suncoast Hyundai dealers, this is 10 Sports.
The Rays won their 68th game of the season tonight. Why is that number so significant? Well, considering they won 68 games all of last season, just kind of shows how far they've come. Speaking of how far they've come, Logan Morrison, boy, is he having one heck of a year this year, guys. I mean, he just continues to destroy the baseball. Came into this season with 23 homers as a career high, and that was set 6 years ago. Well, Lomo is on a mission. Crushes this pitch in the Windy City for his 34th of the season. It's a two-run shot. He drove in all 3 runs in the 3-2 win. As for what you need to see, another day, a Danny Echeverria defensive highlight. Watch him pick this rocket shot out of the dirt and turn the double play. Look at this baby. Oh, man. So good defensively. He had a couple of those tonight. 26 to go. Rays back to 500. A bit of news today as well to follow up on. Former Rays catcher Derek Norris, who was DFA in June, was suspended the rest of the season for violating MLB's domestic abuse policy. The incident occurred in 2015. The $100,000 of termination fee the Rays owed him will be donated to charities focusing on preventing domestic abuse.
Champions of the Eastern Division. Oh my! He's going to score! He's going to score! It's a touchdown!
Chompville. That's just a small portion of Florida's hype video for tomorrow's game against Michigan in Arlington, Texas. Here's the key matchup for me that I think you guys should watch in this game as the Gators get set to take on Michigan inside Jerry's World. Felipe Franks will get his first career start for the Gators at quarterback. He's going to be going up against one of the best front fours in the entire nation. Let's see how the redshirt freshman handles the pressure from former #1 recruit and All-American defensive end Rashawn Gary, number 3, who you see right there. So that game will kick off at 3:30 tomorrow right here at AT&T Stadium. Now, if we go exactly 800 miles east, we're going to end up in Atlanta. That was what it used to look like. Now this is what it looks like for the brand spanking new Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That is where FSU and Alabama will kick things off tomorrow night. Here are, for me, the keys for FSU to beat top-ranked Bama. For one, keep an eye on quarterback Jalen Hurts. He is dangerous with his legs, rushing for nearly 1,000 yards last season, so you got to keep him in the pocket, force him to beat you over the top. Again, that's easier said than done. That right there, DeAndre Francois, you got to protect them, guys. The O-line, they got to have an exceptional game for the Noles to beat Bama. Well, really, this might be the most anticipated college football opener really in the sports history, guys. Number 3 versus number 1. For my money, though, I got FSU. They are 7-point dogs. I'm still going to take them straight up to beat Bama in the opener. See what happens.
Tonight,
We're talking about some of the hidden dangers of flooding in Texas. Okay, so last night, and this video got me, we saw fire ants, I'm sorry, I'm still nervous, floating on water in this giant clump, multiple clumps.
Yeah, and tonight it's gators, so if that makes you feel any better.
Even more scary, right?
Yeah, this massive gator, about 9 feet, was found inside a home in Humble, Texas, near Lake Houston. So the homeowner says he found the gator in the dining room after he brought a crew in to clean up from some of that damage from the floods.
Wow.
Well, Texas game wardens brought the gator to a less populated area. They've been making calls like this a lot lately, and yeah, that wouldn't be something you'd want to find in your dining room, would it? Well, check this out right here. So the Texas game warden posted this picture on Twitter of 3 state troopers and 2 game wardens. Yes, a total of 5 grown men sitting on top of that 12-foot gator. If you needed any perspective on how big that is.
Yeah, but you can see why they needed that many people with the size of an alligator like that.
Yeah, of
and
course.
that area, Humble, by the way, that is right by the airport. A lot of gators, so they're going to get more calls.
So watch where you step.
Thanks for joining us tonight on Nightside. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.
Have a good night.